Every girl dreams of becoming a duchess. The main character of this story, a girl named Lucy Tibet, entered the ducal family after her engagement to Owl, the sole heir of Duke Will. This happened when the girl was 14 years old in the summer. The ducal Will family enjoys the great fame of the imperial sword, this one of the greatest families in the entire kingdom. And to the girl's great gratitude, the Duke and his consort treated the child as if she were their own daughter. Although she herself is a representative of a family of poor provincial aristocrats, delicious dishes, useful trifles, as well as beautiful quality goods were always given to the girl in the first place. They loved her so much that even their son sometimes grumbled unhappily, and at the same time, she loved them sincerely. "We'll marry you off to our foolish son and make you a duchess. We'll entrust both Owl and the ducal family name to Will," the woman promised. From Duchess Will, the girl was learning how to behave properly as a future mistress, and Owl was carried away by the fencing training. For this reason, even though they were engaged, they didn't have too much time to talk to each other. However, the girl could not say that they were in a bad relationship. Even though they didn't have passion like lovers or intimacy like friends, when there was a chance to talk even a little, they often had fun and banter with each other. "Did our parents and you happen to switch places? Weird, isn't it?" asked the guy when the girl asked why his face was so disgruntled. "That's impossible, Owl. After all, you have the exact same looks, tastes, and abilities as the Dukes," jokingly then replied the girl. Her life in the Will family was a happy one. Lucy felt as if in her own plate. It was as if the girl was in the best and most beloved family, until one day, as if laughing at her happiness, trouble suddenly struck. That day it rained heavily in the kingdom. "I hope it won't harm the inhabitants," thought the protagonist. "We have made preparations, so don't worry so much. You are so kind that there is no doubt you will make a fine duchess," comforted her maid. In addition, the maid also said that she was not the only one who thought so, but everyone around her probably thought so as well. However, still that day, the assistant reported that there was a catastrophe. The carriage in which the Duke and his wife were traveling, because of the rain, overturned. After this news, the girl immediately ran to Phelan to ask the guy if he knew the details about his parents. "It's all right. I'm sure they're unharmed. They can't die so easily." The man tried to reassure both himself and the girl at the same time. The girl could only pray and hope that the boy's parents were alive. "Please, let the two of them walk through those doors again. Let them call me their favorite daughter again, Lucy." That was what she wished for more than anything else in the world. How callous it seemed to her that God had never heard her prayers. Owl, who had lost his parents at such a young age and taken over the family, had grown cold to everything and was less likely to leave the training room. And Lucy, though still only in the status of his fiancée, was forced to take on not only the duties of the Duchess, but also the concerns of the Duke, who turned his back on everything in the world after their death. She and Phelan spent 3 years without marriage and without even the ceremony of his own adulthood. Then one day, after receiving an unexpected order from the Emperor, Owl went to the battlefield. Thus, a whole 6 years flew by. "Mistress, you must be enjoying this. Meeting a master for the first time in such a long time. You know, it's an exciting meeting after the end of the war. I'm ready. Will you look in the mirror? You're so beautiful. It's like an angel coming down from heaven." The maids consoled her. In fact, the feelings of softness, the luxurious attire, were all things that Lucy had not had for so long, but it all seemed embarrassing now. Much has happened since Owl left for the war. What luck that both famine and epidemic have been defeated. And now the man was coming back. But Lucy did not yet know how much he had changed in 6 years. Now the maids announced that it was time for the mistress to go out. "Everything is ready for Phelan's meeting. We have received word that the Duke has passed through the main gate," the maids announced. Of course, it's too late to say that Lucy is passionately in love with him or worried in his presence. However, they must be married at last. But what was the girl's disappointment when Owl Will returned from the war holding a stranger in his arms? Another woman in the arms of my fiancé, absent for the last 6 years, marveled the protagonist. Well, what do I see? Sparkling golden hair, a graceful feminine figure, delicate skin, and a rounded tummy. All the guesses went to one thing. "Look at this! That girl in the Lord's arms, is she pregnant?" voiced their guesses aloud by the other maids. Why did the Lord bring her with him? Could it be the Duke's child? But after all, Mistress Lucy. The girls continued to chatter. That is impossible. His lordship wouldn't do such a thing. We're just misunderstanding something. Her submissive maid tried to comfort the young mistress. However, is it possible to misunderstand something here? But if this woman's belly really is the baby owl in her belly, how should Lucy even behave? Grab her with all her hatred by the hair like some villainess do? Or, despite the fact that everything is boiling inside, pretend that nothing happened as befits a noble aristocrat? But do I even have the right to do something like this? I'm not even his wife. I'm just his fiancée, pondered Lucy. I am not Lucy Will, but Lucy Tibet. I'm not a duchess after all, realized the girl. Wow, the number of horses has dwindled during my absence. The first thing the man noticed as soon as he got down from his horse. However, the girl said nothing in response. Lucy, I hope in these 6 years you haven't learned to speak, the man asked jokingly. Lucy tried to explain to him that she was just a little shocked, however. The guy pretended as if he had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. Does he really not understand? Or is he testing me? If so, maybe this woman's baby really isn't his. The girl was running through her head, but just at that moment, Owl gently took the strange lady in his arms to get her off the horse. Right. It must have been tiring sitting on the horse all this time. Get down, said the man, and set the girl on her feet. Then the maid Lucy decided to stand up for her mistress. Master, how... You can't do that to your mistress. How can he behave like that, in front of the bride? The maids were whispering. The chattering of the servants cannot be stopped. Even though their engagement may be called formal, but one can't behave like this right in front of the bride. Ah, Mickey. Cecilia, you must be tired from the road. Come inside and rest. Which room do you like? Owl decided to ask before parting ways with the girl. His companion then said that she wanted to live where there was a lot of sunlight. Is that so? Mickey, take her to the room located at the end of the east corridor on the 2nd floor, ordered the master servant, which made Lucy feel even more awful. This is the Duchess's room, after all. You can't put just anyone in a room belonging to her ladyship, so Lucy decided to say it out loud to the man. However, he didn't care. You can't put anyone in there. It can only be used by the acting duchess, the girl stated. Then the guy retorted to her that she was used by her father, and besides, Lucy was too. But the girl still wouldn't give up and continued to insist on her point. The Duke was the master here, and I only worked there, but never slept there, Lucy explained. Though Owl had already decided that Cecilia would live there, though, as that room had wonderful lighting. There are other rooms where the light comes through beautifully, Lucy went on to tell. I merely decided to give her an empty room. I didn't expect to hear you grouch. The rules in this house are set by the owner. Mickey, take her inside and assign her a maid so there's no inconvenience. Already a rougher tone answered the men. Lucy, are you angry? Owl asked surprised, after his companion had been escorted in by a maid. Lucy, however, was compelled to say no, after which the lad just as indifferently departed. The bridegroom, who returned after 6 years, had assigned her ladyship's room to some stranger. How could one not be angry about this situation at all? However, Lucy knew that nothing would change even if she told someone that this situation did not suit her at all. Besides, it's not like the girl is officially part of Will's family, so no one would even listen to her. She was dressed up so long and diligently to meet a man who arrived with another woman. How the girl at that moment wanted to drop everything and just go back to her chambers. Come quickly. We have to get dinner ready in time. Mickey, escort your guest to her room, Mistress said in a sad tone. Also, if you notice anything strange, report to me at once, said the girl. However, she knew her position would not allow it. That evening, Lucy sat down at her desk. She looked at the contract. For the 9th year, the seal of the ducal Will family was in her office. She looks over the documents she hadn't had time to familiarize herself with because of her meeting with Owl. People who used to look negatively at the fact that Lucy was temporarily acting as a duke, in time began to see it as something natural. However, in Lucy's position, mistakes were unacceptable. Therefore, the girl tried her best to do her job flawlessly. We need to check everything down to the last comma. Then we can consider that that's all for today, Lucy decided. However, a few seconds later, the girl heard an intimidating sound. It was only thunder. She had been working so hard that she had forgotten that it was supposed to rain today. On days when thunder rumbles and lightning flashes, the girl still indulges in tears. It could be considered a trauma from the death of the ducal couple. Owl, do you remember that? No, you must have forgotten about my suffering, thought the protagonist of this story. That's why he asked if I was angry when I put that woman in her ladyship's room. The girl also pondered. A few minutes later, the maid informed her mistress that it was time for dinner. I seem to have gotten carried away with my work. Of course, we should all have dinner together, since this is the first day of Owl's return after such a long war, said Lucy. It was all right, after all. It's a family courtesy, even if it was unpleasant for her to take a meal while looking at his face. Of course, the master came back after a long time, but still he was unpleasant to you, madam, the maid confirmed. In a moment, Lucy noticed that this girl looked like a cute little sister, although before, Lucy was always accompanied by Mistress Mickey. At the same time, the girls were passing by the other guests. Lucy noticed that with the Duke's return, their house had become noisy. I don't want to distract the busy servants, so I need to pass by sooner rather than later, thought the girl. However, that's when she came across a maid who was carrying a tray of food to someone for some reason. Wait, it's already dinner time. Where are you taking this tray to? The mistress interjected in surprise. Well, Mistress said he wants to eat dinner in his room. He's tired and doesn't want to go down to the dining room, explained the maid. Am I definitely part of the Owl family? His parents have certainly said that they consider me their own daughter, but that's just a thought, not the truth. Perfectly understood the protagonist. For more than a decade now, she has lived and worked in the Duchy of Will, but she has always been a stranger here. So to Owl, Lucy isn't even part of the family, which means she can't demand that he at least be polite and dine with her. The servants try to comfort her, of course, but even they understand. Still, looking at the tray of food, Lucy noticed that it was quite a lot for one duke. So his lordship said he would dine with his companion. Confirmed the girl's speculation by her maid. To stop thinking about things that were unpleasant for Lucy, she decided to get on with her work. A few minutes later, the butler brought her an additional task. Mistress, there are documents here that you must deal with, and I understand that this is the Duke's responsibility, but you also realize that he— But before the man could even finish speaking, the girl interrupted him. Baron Wales, from now on, all ducal matters are to be taken directly to Owl. In a rough and stern tone at the same time, the girl ordered. Even as the girl was taking a bath that night, she was still replaying this entire situation in her head. As soon as Wales brought her a document that required an urgent decision, the girl immediately thought why she should do it. After all, the Duke was already in place. In addition, Lucy remembered that Owl was now only happily dining with that woman. That was why the girl ordered that from now on, all such matters should be attributed to the man. She decided that since the Duke had returned, it was no longer her job. Of course, Wales was shocked by this turn of events. 30 years working in the family of the Dukes of Will, but this is the first time I've been so confused. She said to take the document to the Duke. Will he be able to understand the meaning of what is written? The man was seriously worried. A document? Why did you bring it to me? I know this sort of thing is supposed to be handled by Lucy. Surprised the Duke as soon as Wales brought his assignment. Then the assistant informed him that the girl had been doing the job for the man while he was away. But she was doing it before when I was in place anyway, wasn't she? The man then mentioned. Looks like Lucy sent him to me. Decided to get cranky since we haven't seen each other for so long? Owl guessed. But the fellow couldn't think about his work for too long, as he was distracted by his companion. Phelan, I got bored. How long will you talk for? Asked the pregnant girl. You're not alone now. Don't stay so long. Better sit down. Take that document back to Lucy. It probably just fell out. Ordered the man to the assistant, not even wanting to hear the fact that the document needed to be dealt with today. As soon as Wales left the room, Cecilia immediately started asking about the girl. Lucy, is that your fiancé's name, Owl? She calls you by your first name and speaks to you informally. You seem to be contentedly close. Noticed the girl, and then Owl explained to her that they were close since they had always been together since they were children. And yet, perhaps we shouldn't speak casually? After all, she's only a countess. Lucy may be a fiancée, but in noble circles you may be looked down upon, so it would be better if she spoke to you properly. Cecilia expressed her point of view. She also suggested that otherwise, others would start to look down on her Duke Owl. It's all for you and this woman, said the lady. A frustrated Wales tearfully went back to Lucy to get the girl to look over the document. Of course, Lucy was not going to refuse him. Apparently, Owl refused to take it up. Certainly has been shirking the job for 10 years. And I doubt he'll be happy to start doing it now, but still, he's a duke, which means I can't work for him all my life. I must discuss the matter with him, Lucy decided. The girl also thought it would be a good idea to talk about that woman at the same time. I fixed some odd points. Rewrite it and can send it, narrated Lucy. Yes, your ladyship. I apologize for disturbing you in the night. Rest now, mistress. Before leaving, said Wales. But just as the girl was about to go to bed, she heard the sounds of thunder again. Such loud sounds scared her a lot, reminding her of unpleasant events. It's all right, Lucy. It's just thunder and lightning. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's okay. The girl tried to reassure herself. It was good to have Mickey around at times like this. Usually, the headmaid could always easily calm the mistress down. Now, however, Mickey was looking after Cecilia. As it turned out, the girl was also a little afraid of thunderstorms. As soon as Owl found this out, he promised the girl that he would be by her side all night. That's when the man noticed Mickey watching them from the side. The gentleman immediately ordered the maid to leave the room. However, at that moment, Cecilia stopped the girl. Owl, we've been riding horses for so long that my legs and back are very sore. I need medicine, but I'd rather have someone massage them for me. In a gentle voice, the saucy girl asked. This was already some sort of humiliation for the maid. There is a maid who does massage better than me, and I would go to mistress. The maid tried to convey to her. However, Owl still stopped the girl, demanding that Mickey massage the lady's back. The next morning, Owl came into Lucy's room. There is something urgent. It's a letter demanding that you attend the coronation ceremony of the new emperor, which will take place in a month's time, told the man. Although a month is actually quite a long time. The journey to the capital takes about 4 days. The remaining time, a little over 3 weeks, is to decide on the shells. It's worth calling a designer first to decide on a dress, and then shoes and jewelry. How long do you plan to stay in the capital? Preparations for the coming rainy season will need to be finalized before traveling. The girl decided to ask. She also pointed out that the carriage and gifts would need to be prepared in advance. However, at that moment, quite unexpectedly, Owl indicated to the girl to speak to him formally from now on. We'll be going out a lot now, and your informal speech won't do much good to other people's opinions, will it? The man declared. You don't want to embarrass me in front of all the high society, do you? He also implied. The protagonist really didn't understand what was going on, since the guy had never said such a thing. Lucy guessed that that woman could have instructed him like that. However, Lucy had to agree to his request. "All right, from now on, I will address you as your lordship at social events," the girl promised. In return, and you in front of others, call me not Lucy, but Lady Tibet, observing the formalities." The girl also asked in return, and Owl calmly agreed. "By the way, we'll have to get a designer to prepare the outfits for the reception. We are going to the Imperial Palace after all, so she can get a new dress too." The man also added. It became clear that the guy wanted to take his companion with him and show her the capital at the same time. It seemed to him that the girl would be bored in the manor during their absence. Then, too, since his companion was traveling with them, Owl asked Lucy to help the lady choose clothes. "She is our chief guest. You are the hostess, so do your job," the man said in a gruff tone. "And do you really think I'm the hostess of the manor?" Surprised and disappointed, Lucy interjected. "Of course I do. After all, I am to marry you. Who but you could manage everything here?" Explained to the men. It was then that he realized that it was because of his companion that the girl was angry with him. "Cecilia got pregnant by mistake over one night, so I can't abandon the child." Owl tried to explain himself. "After the baby is born, I'll send her somewhere else. You understand, don't you, Lucy? I'll only marry you." Mentioned the man. "Send her elsewhere. In other words, the child from whom she is born will be taken into the family? I see. After all, my father, the Earl of Tibet, did exactly the same thing. And thus, I became Lady Tibet." The protagonist thought for a second. "I understand what you want to tell me. So you also remember, if you really look at me as your future wife, not demanding to take care of this woman." Decided to ask Lucy in a serious tone from Owl. Now the fellow only had to accept her choice. The situation between the young men was indeed strange. Even the other palace staff were gossiping about it. "Things have been very strange lately, don't you think? There's even a spark of tension between Mr. and Mrs., right?" the janitor remarked. "Not even just weird. They've always spoken informally, but it's been a few days since they switched to a formal tone. Is this about the woman by any chance? I mean the one who got pregnant by the gentleman. If she gives birth to a son, what will happen?" "What do you mean? What?" "She will become a duchess and Mrs. Lucy will be evicted," the maids whispered. However, Lucy then approached stealthily from behind. She explained to the palace staff that there was no need to come up with embarrassing excuses for all of this. "Yes, and there's no denying that's the way it is. Talk all you want," Lucy said surprisingly. It really was okay. After all, she hadn't gotten engaged to him because she wanted his love. All Lucy wanted was the last name of Duchess Will to get away from her own background. Of course, when her fiancé is having fun with another woman, it's not pleasant on the soul. But it was enough for Lucy just to meet her face to face. However, to Lucy's great regret, Cecilia still decided to walk around the palace and met with the girl. Still, the girls needed to meet in order for Lucy to help Lucy choose a dress for the gentleman's companion. After a few minutes, Cecilia had already tried on one dress that didn't fit her very well. "Sticks out a lot, doesn't it? You can touch it if you wish." Immediately, the girl said to emphasize her pregnancy. That's when she decided it was a good time to introduce herself to Lucy. As it turned out, the girl's last name was Helly. Isn't that the last name of the royal family conquered by the Empire a few years ago? If so, then she's a princess. But it doesn't really matter since the country is gone. Quickly, Lucy scrolled through her head, and in response, she also introduced herself. In any case, Lucy consoled herself that they wouldn't have to see each other much, so she decided it was time for her to leave. Before Lucy left, however, Cecilia stopped her, calling the girl Lady Tibet. The members of the royal family whose country was destroyed were acquiring the status of commoners. Therefore, Cecilia should have called Lucy Mistress, but not Lady in any way. "Please address her appropriately," Mickey pointed out in a loud voice. Should the princess of a fallen kingdom be treated like an aristocrat? The maid continued to point out. However, Lucy still decided to apologize to her guest. I apologize to you. My maid has overstepped the bounds of what is acceptable. Please be generous, Miss Hallie, said Lucy. But the mistress still stated that she had some business to attend to and should go. What an empty conversation this has turned out to be. I'm tired. Upon leaving thought aloud to Lucy. It was then that her maid handed over a letter from Countess Tibbet, which had arrived not so long ago. At that moment, the girl remembered her hard childhood. She had not at all expected the Countess to send the letter. My beloved Lucy, are you well? Tomorrow I'm going to visit you at Duke Will's residence, indicated the woman in the letter. What is she thinking of? Even though I don't want to meet her, I have no apparent reason to refuse. Perfectly understood the protagonist. Mickey, it seems the Countess is going to pay us a visit tomorrow. We won't have to make any special arrangements, so don't worry, explained the girl. However, the mistress didn't talk to the maid for long as another maid burst into their office. It turned out that that girl had fainted. The doctor is already examining her. The Duke is also there. There you go. Thank you for telling me. The mistress thanked, and at the same moment she thought that if Owl was there was no reason for the girl to go there. Just then, however, the mistress himself burst into the room. Lucy, what did you say to my companion? Don't pretend like you don't know. Why did she faint right after talking to you? The man began to shout loudly at her. Did that woman say that? That I drove her crazy? Lucy asked, surprised. No, she hasn't even regained consciousness yet. The doctor assures me it's all due to psychological shock. The maid said you met her today, the man stated. So what of it? Did you see that I offended that girl in any way? With a completely neutral expression, Lucy decided to ask. After all, she knew she had done nothing wrong to this girl, so she kept her cool. The girl explained that they greeted each other, and she called her by her name. It wasn't something rude at all. However, Owl was no longer going to stop his aggressive attitude. Listen carefully, Lucy. If something happens to my unborn child, I won't leave it like that, so be careful from now on. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing to you. The man began to threaten in direct text. He pressed the girl so hard against the wall that her arm even started to hurt. Now I realize. Phylan's feelings for this woman are much deeper than they seem, and the Duchess's place could be taken away from me at any moment, realized the protagonist. The truth is that this engagement may end not in marriage, but in separation. Mistress, it was reported to me that Miss Cecilia woke up yesterday. Mickey reported a few days later. Also, the maid told that Countess Tibbet had arrived, whereupon Lucy greeted her mother with a pleased smile. Yes, you seem to be doing well, Lucy. What a relief, rejoiced her birth mother. Are you going to make me stand in the hallway like this? Let's go into the living room. We have a lot to talk about, not in front of the maids, of course. The woman admitted, and then the girl thought she would feel more comfortable that way, too. After which the girls made their way to the table to have tea together. You look pretty good for someone who is about to lose her place. The woman started the conversation. I'm not in the mood for a long conversation, so talk business, Lucy asked then. Do you want to prolong our conversation? If not, let's get to the point. I'm not feeling very well, admitted the girl. Like I was told, you're acting like a proper duchess, but don't forget, you're still Lucy Tibbet. In a sassy tone, the mother replied, Did you come just to tell me that? The girl said in response, thinking to herself that the Countess had decided to make fun of her as well. However, the woman said that an interesting rumor had reached her. Rumors that Duke Will had brought a mistress into the house. Moreover, the woman knew that this girl was the princess of a conquered state. Looks like someone is reporting everything that happens here. Sipping her tea, Lucy quietly remarked, Does that sort of thing matter? What matters is that this woman didn't get pregnant any faster than you did. That's why I told you to marry as soon as the ducal couple passed away. But you didn't listen to me, and this is how it turned out, said the woman, and began to take something out of her bag. Then the mother took out a vial of medicine that would help Lucy get pregnant. Following that, she also pulled out another vial, the one that was supposed to help get rid of the baby. "One drop is enough to induce a miscarriage," the woman explained. Lucy became very uncomfortable, so she immediately decided to leave. "You're saying something strange. I'm going to go," informed Lucy and got up from under the table, but the woman kept stopping her. "Come to your senses, Lucy. If this woman has a baby, what will become of you?" the mother pointed out. "Your engagement will be dissolved, and if you do happen to become a duchess, only you the role of a puppet. What will you do if the age of marriage passes and you still remain an unmarried woman? You're not thinking of returning to the mansion, are you?" The woman quipped. She also added that she was only saying that because she was worried about her daughter. However, Lucy still didn't want to hear something like that. "I'll pretend like I didn't hear anything. Please go back inside," asked Lucy. However, the woman still decided to leave those bubbles to the girl. "You'll have to make a decision if you want to protect your place," added the mother lastly. Now Lucy really came to a standstill. "Even though I'm disgusted with Cecilia, that doesn't mean I want to kill her baby. After all, it's not his fault in any way," thought the Maini heroine. "If anyone is to blame, it's Owl for recklessly conceiving it. But if she does give birth, The girl's mind scrolled, but her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Mickey entered the room to inform her mistress that the tailor from the atelier had arrived. "Already? Well, we'll be traveling to the capital the day after tomorrow, so we need to hurry," Lucy decided. That was when the mistress learned that the jeweler and the clog maker would also arrive during the day. Lucy asked the maid to tell them to hurry up, for they needed to match the jewelry to their clothes. Then the girl decided that she had better deal with the immediate problem first. But at that moment, Mickey reported that the gentleman was already in the living room with the tailor. In addition, Lucy learned that the gentleman had called his companion with him to teach her how to greet guests. Meeting guests is one of the duties of the mistress of the manor, so Lucy didn't expect that the master would call his mistress with him. However, the girl at that moment was already in full swing learning royal manners. Wales even greeted her with a bow. "Please raise your head. It's a pleasure to meet you too," said the girl. However, Cecilia, as a lover, was absolutely not supposed to do that. "No, I'm not the mistress of the mansion yet. I'm only pretending to be her with Owl's permission. Cecilia, or I don't make any difference." Lucy tried to calm herself down, but she continued to feel terribly ill. "Mistress, are you all right? Would you like me to go and kick her out now?" suggested the headmaid as soon as she saw her mistress's dire condition. "No, it's all right, Mickey. Let it be as the Duke wants it to be," Lucy had to answer. The girl knew, after all, that if she tried to kick out her unpleasant guest, she would only make herself look bad. But she couldn't go either, so Lucy still headed for the living room. Just then, the girl met with Mr. Owl as well. Lucy admitted that she had received the letter and asked the stylist where the prepared outfits were. "The thing is, Miss Cecilia is looking through them now," the man admitted. As soon as the lady entered the room, she met the gentleman's mistress. The girl immediately took notice of her guest's appearance, for she was wearing the very dress that Mistress Will had handed for Lucy earlier. "Lucy, though you are not married yet, and it is too early to give such a thing, but I would very much like to see you in it. It's a maternity dress. You look good in color, so I went to great lengths to pick it out. Your daughter would be as beautiful as you are." That day, the mistress said, "My sweet Lucy, I can't wait to see you in this dress," the woman also confessed. Of course, Lucy got very angry when she saw the girl in her dress. "I asked, why are you wearing the dress the deceased Duchess gave me?" Angry and shouted, Lucy asked. It was then that Owl stood up for the pregnant girl. "I'm the one who told her to wear it. So don't say anything to her, Lady Tibet," asked the man. "So I can take my anger out on you, Duke? Why do you put other people's clothes as you wish?" still asked the girl. However, the man felt that Lucy was overreacting because of a piece of cloth. "Yes, and you have no use for those clothes either. Wouldn't it be better to give it to someone who really needs it instead of leaving it to gather dust? The man spoke up. What dust? I'm afraid it might get damaged. I kept it in the furthest part of my closet. How was it even found in my secret room? The girl did not understand. The Duke would never have entered there. So did Miss Cecilia really invade my private space? Lucy also realized. She has no other choice. She has guests to host, but there was no appropriate attire. The man continued to defend her. Lucy, however, took stock of the fact that this wouldn't have happened if the Duke had ordered clothes for the girl earlier. Besides, now he made it Lucy's fault. At that moment, Cecilia decided to interrupt their argument and defiantly fell to the floor with tears in her eyes. If I had clothes, this wouldn't have happened. I'm really sorry. It's all me. Please don't fight, said the girl while continuing to cry. Of course, immediately a gentleman ran up to her to get her to her feet. There's no need to apologize. After all, you didn't do anything wrong, said the man. Cecilia herself continued to cry as she clung to his warm chest. It's not your fault in any way. It's absolutely not. What are you standing there for? Bring hot tea and a towel, ordered the lord to the servants to calm the girl. He had brought a pregnant stranger into the house. Care should be taken, for she might jeopardize Lucy's position. That's what Lucy herself thought, but from the looks of it, it was Lucy who was the stranger here. I hear the Duke is very fond of his new lover indeed. They say the mistress was rude to her and flatly refused to give her her clothes. On the same day, other maids were discussing the situation. What about it? There's no way she would give her clothes to someone like me. What's going to happen to our mistress? Are they really going to break off the engagement? I don't think so. Aristocrats originally keep the lawful wife and mistresses separate. The girls continued to gossip. That's enough. I was prepared for something like this when I raised my voice in the presence of outsiders. Thought aloud to Lucy as she heard the maids talking. I'm more worried about having to go to the capital with her, the protagonist also admitted. You don't like it, but you don't do anything about it and just walk around, looking around the area. If it were me, I'd turn it over to the Duke. Mickey admitted, however, everyone knew that it was simply her responsibility, at least up to a certain point. A week ago, at a council of the entire palace, one of the staff had suggested passing the work back to the Duke. The right thing to do would be to hand the job back to the Duke, madam. His lordship has returned. It's not right for you to continue doing his duties, prompted one of the men. I agree. I will go to the capital in a week and turn things over to him. I trust you will do quite well, affirmed the girl. Just then, the carriage was ready. But when Lucy approached it, she was met with a gentleman and his lady. Cecilia isn't feeling well, so I'll ride along with her, explained the gentleman. As you wish, it makes no difference to me, coldly replied the protagonist. First of all, Lucy was glad that they were not traveling to the capital for the emperor's coronation ceremony in more than one carriage. But for some reason, the girl felt so miserable. Madam, we have arrived. The road has been more grueling than we thought. Are you all right? Mickey immediately inquired. However, Lucy explained that they had been traveling for quite a long time, and so she was tired and wanted to rest. As soon as Lucy got out of the carriage, the people around immediately started whispering. Gosh, why did Lucy get out of the carriage from us? Did they have something going on? Look, the Duke got out of the other carriage. Noticed the people around. Who is that girl next to him? Looks like his new mistress. People also guessed. Lucy just didn't want to listen to any more of this, so she asked Mickey to escort her to a room. Here are the apartments prepared for Mistress Lucy, said the maid and showed her to her room. I hear it rains a lot in the capital. Could you please provide me with a room without windows? That's when Lucy decided to ask. But the maid was extremely surprised, since they are usually used by maids. It's all right if it's small. So will you escort me? Still insisted Lucy. Of course the maid was forced to comply with her mistress's request. This room has small windows and is quite dark, as it is at the end of the corridor. Orientally, everything is satisfactory, mistress. The maid interrogated just in case. But Lucy liked this room quite well. It was then, however, that she met Mr. Owl. "Lucy, as far as I know, this room is not meant for ladies," expressed his surprise aloud to the man. "I asked for it to be changed since I like it better here. Is there a problem?" Lucy explained. "You did it to get closer to my mistress?" Then said the man in surprise. "You think, and that I want to hurt her?" Lucy asked in reply in a rough tone. "So I can share a room with Owl, right? To tell you the truth, I would be very nervous if I had to live alone in a strange place." The nasty girl then said in a nasty tone, "But I'll be much more relaxed around him." The pregnant girl also added, and the gentleman agreed. After hearing this, Lucy felt so stuffy that the girl decided to go for a walk outside. After the walk, the gentleman definitely felt better. "Thank goodness. I haven't seen you smiling in a long time. You haven't looked well lately, so I was really worried," Mickey admitted. What Lucy was really thinking about, however, was breaking off the engagement. "But if I divorce Owl, what would an ordinary countess like me even do?" pondered the girl. "Yes, and no one at home is happy with me. What can a young aristocrat who can't even fix her skirt?" asked the question to herself Lucy. However, her thoughts were interrupted by loud noises. "Let go of my sister!" some boy was asking. As soon as he saw Lucy, he immediately realized that a lady from a noble family was here. However, the boy asked her to mind her own business and go where she was going. I would have just passed by, but after witnessing this, I can't help but pay attention to what happened. "Explain what's going on," Mistress demanded. "Isn't it clear? Shake out the dough. That wench borrowed money and hasn't paid it back in over 6 months. If you don't have it, earn it and pay it back." The man continued shouting. "Sister only borrowed 30 gold coins. Now you're demanding 500 coins. That's when the little girl intervened. 500 gold coins? But after all, the highest lending rate set by the Empire is 30%. Lucy then interjected. "Save the excuse for the jail cell. Mickey, go and get an officer." In a calm tone, Lucy ordered. However, the man was so angry that he was ready to pull out his sharp sword. "What, officers? It's a broad! If she's walking around alone, you'd better stay out of other people's business," declared the rough man, and at the same time pointed his blade at the lady. But at the same moment, some fine man covered Lucy with his strong body. However, the unpleasant man did not give up, and already ran straight at the very young man. They continued the fight, but the guy with blue hair showed himself from a more favorable side, putting the impudent man on the ground. "Keep in mind, I won't be so lenient again," the man said in a sly tone. Lucy really didn't realize what kind of hero this was. Shiny blue hair, a penetrating gaze, snow-white skin, and expensive clothes. He didn't look like an ordinary person, but were there any aristocrats Lucy's age that she wouldn't know? The man also remarked that Lady Lucy was rather reckless, which the lady herself was surprised by. "Reckless? What do you mean?" re-questioned the girl. "If I hadn't saved you, surely a terrible thing would have happened," prompted the man. What a bold statement. Not being here, I could still stand up for myself. Confidently, she replied Lucy and pulled out the knife hidden in her fan. "I seem to have misunderstood you. I apologize for my bias." The stranger decided to apologize. "No need to apologize, but thank you anyway. Thank you for apologizing and for saving me." The girl decided to speak up. For the guy himself, it was just nothing. He was even pleased to help such a fragile lady. Speaking of which, this is the first time I've seen such a useful fan. Where can it be found? The guy decided to inquire, and Lucy pointed out that she had made it herself. After the demise of the Duchess Duke, there was no one to protect her. When Owl went off to war, she was periodically attacked by those who wanted him. "I know a woman shouldn't carry something like that, but I have no other choice," Lucy admitted. "That's amazing. You can make a weapon to protect yourself. Incredible!" Unexpectedly, the boy remarked. "Did he say I'm amazing? Owl never said anything like that to me. Okay, what am I even thinking? You can't compare a fiancé to another man. Immediately, the girl pushed those thoughts out of her head. I've got to go! Mickey, help me with the shawl! We need to call the guards! Ordered the mistress. Judging from the conversation, the stranger realized that the lady wanted to report on that man, but still decided to clarify that point. Yes, he exceeded the allowable interest rate by 2 times. He will have to be charged at least 1,000 gold coins as a fine. I'll leave it at that. May the glory of the Empire be with you, said the girl. May the blessing of the Empire always be with you, the strange man added in response. As soon as they said goodbye, and the girls moved farther away from the stranger, Mickey immediately gave her opinion on how handsome this young gentleman was. There's such a glow coming from him. Will Mistress also shine like that when she officially becomes a duchess? Decided Mickey asked. Lucy had recently been sure that she would become one, but now the girl was tormented by vague doubts about it. After the meeting with that strange guy, Mickey and her mistress still went to the garrison. I'd like to report an incident I witnessed. The girl explained her reason for coming. However, the man just handed her a form. He said to fill out an application, and then she could go. This attitude to work did not please the lady at all. Aren't you going to beef up security? I saw a man bullying a girl, prompted Lucy, but Garrison said they were short-staffed, so they had to fill out an application first. That's when a stubborn Mickey intervened in their conversation. Do you even know who you're talking to? The maid said in a rude tone. That's enough. There's no point in making a fuss. It would be better to report the negligence of the capital's guards directly to His Majesty. Lucy decided to calm the maid down and threaten that man. Immediately after this sentence, the garrison immediately began to behave differently. Report to His Majesty? What are you? I'm not that kind of person at all. As soon as you write a statement, I will immediately. We will take all the necessary measures. Write it quickly. Immediately, the garrison began to apologize. Wow! People don't understand anything the first time! Mickey was angry as she and Mistress walked back to their room. It was already getting dark, so they needed to head back. It's kind of creepy walking through the dark streets of an already unsafe capital city, Lucy also remarked. However, she felt someone following behind him. It turned out to be the same stranger who had already protected the girl earlier. However, the girl still decided to turn around and ask why he was following her. Oh, did I scare you? I'd like to ask you something, explained the guy. I'd like to ask about what happened earlier. How did you realize about the 60% profit made by that rascal? Asked the man. But that wasn't even all he wanted to ask. I'm also interested in how you knew that the maximum interest rate set by the Empire is 30%, and that this person should be charged at least 1,000 gold coins. The guy also added, You seem to be surprised since a young girl like me knows about it, replied Lucy and laughed a little. That's right. Usually, ladies from noble families don't usually study such things, confirmed the boy. It's only natural since lands are mostly ruled by men. Therefore, a woman I need to study to my heart's content, but not in my case. Perfectly understood the main point of the heroine. I'm just fascinated by it. Why? Is it not to your liking that a woman is interested in such things? Lucy asked in reply. Not at all. I'm just a little surprised. After all, ladies aren't usually interested in such things, the man admitted. And that's right. Well, if I've answered your questions, I'll be off, Lucy said lastly before turning around and heading home. Then I shall look forward to our next meeting, Lady Lucy Tibet, shouted the man back to her. But what surprised the girl the most was that the stranger knew her name. He must have seen the drawing on your fan. Yes, and you are quite famous in social circles. No wonder he knows your name. Spoke her point of view to Mickey. Do you happen to know what kind of family he's from? Mistress decided to ask then. However, when Mickey offered her help in finding out, Mistress explained that it was not worth it. It seems that his status is higher than an earl. Perhaps I can meet him at the coronation ceremony, thought Lucy. Just then, the girl heard loud noises outside and decided to go to her window to see what was happening. His Highness, the Duke, has arrived. Apparently he came on his outing, narrated Mickey. It was then that Owl decided to go to the window to talk to the girl, since he saw her in the reflection. Lucy, it always seemed to me that you put yourself in a rigid frame of mind. Do you like life like that? He inquired. Lady Tibet, I honor the arrangement. In a cold tone, the girl answered him. That's enough. Talking to you gives me one headache, Owl replied just as rudely. The girl's memories took her back to her childhood. Back then, little Owl and Lucy were sitting side by side reading a book together. That day, the little gentleman declared that Lucy had a very interesting conversation. What a great time the boys had together while they were kids. I'm even a little jealous of how much stuff you know. I want to become just as smart. Little Owl always says something like that when she was a kid. She felt so sorry that things had changed when they grew up that the girl even cried. Nonsense. It's just Dusty got in my eye. Tried to hide her weakness, Lucy. The man saw that the girl wasn't crying because she had something in her eye, so he decided to cheer her up a little. By the way, Lady Tibet, girls like chocolate cake, don't they? Decided to ask the gentleman, definitely seeing towards something. I'm not very knowledgeable about such things, so I asked the shopkeeper. He recommended it to me, explained Owl. Cecilia said she wanted to taste it. Then the man said, and the girl finally got upset. Oh, you didn't buy it for me? Even more disappointed the girl was. However, the guy justified himself by saying that he didn't know that Lucy liked sweets. And besides, Feline thought that if the lady wanted it, she could buy it for herself. After which the man gave the pregnant girl a chocolate cake. Eat it to your heart's content. It's all yours, Feline also explained. I asked around the nobility and found out where they sell delicious desserts, the man confessed. Can I eat the whole thing? I've been wanting to do that for a long time. Then the pregnant woman decided to ask. Of course, the Owl told her that the girl could do as she wished. Did Lady Tibet get a cake too? I feel guilty for enjoying such a treat alone. In our kingdom, there was a tradition of sharing food. Unexpectedly, Cecilia started a topic of conversation about her rival. Now, Lady Tibet is my family too, so I would like to share with her. The girl explained and asked aloud to pack a cake for Lucy. A couple minutes later, the box with the cake was in Lucy's room. The mistress herself was surprised to be handed the treat. Moreover, the girl knew that Owl was not the kind of person who cared about something like this, and she had seen such a box before. Is this a cake meant for his mistress? I feel like I've begged for it, thought the protagonist. I know you don't like sweets, but at least try a piece today. Offered Mickey and Lucy decided to do just that. In fact, the girl really wanted it. However, as soon as the girl opened the box, she found only the remains of a chocolate cake inside. Lucy became even more disgusted to receive such a bad gift. Mistress, I was told there is a tradition in her homeland, sharing the leftovers of delicious food. The butler tried to console the girl. Tradition, you say? Throw it away, coldly ordered the upset lady. Owl, how much longer are you going to make me miserable? Do I even mean anything to you? Wondered the lady. Now the girl really didn't understand how she should be. I wonder if Countess Tibet also experienced the same thing when she watched the Count woo my mother. Lucy wondered. That must be why she abused me terribly, too, the girl guessed. But the saddest thing about the situation was that Lucy still had to take care of him, despite all the shame she had experienced. Mickey noticed her mistress's bad mood, so she decided to offer her one of her ideas. Mistress, would you like to make a shawl? This will be his lordship's first appearance in high society after all. There is a tradition that during the debut, men carry a shawl embroidered by their family or the bride's family behind them. Have they forgotten? It's not surprising, though. After all, you've been very busy, and the Duke has spent all his time on the battlefield. Mickey realized. That's right. There really is such a tradition. Even if I had free time, I still wouldn't sew it. Still, admitted the girl to her chief assistant. If you think about it, it's been a long time since I've had to embroider. It's been so long. Already had time to lose skills. The last time I sewed him a shawl before he went to war. Lucy confessed. They say that if a lover takes it to the battlefield, he is sure to return unharmed. So Lucy had to do it then. What did he say then when he saw her handkerchief? What is this? Is it the coat of arms of our family? If you don't like it, don't take it. What's the point of giving a gift and then taking it away? Jokingly, they chatted with each other. Don't worry, I'll be back safe and sound. Wait for me, lady, said the gentleman and gently kissed the lady's hand. Whereupon he did go to the battlefield, and on his return, he was found safe and sound. At any other time, it would have been a pleasant memory. That's right. No matter how much Lucy hates him, Owl is still her fiancé. Besides, Lucy can't be allowed to be judged on the day of her debut. Therefore, Lucy ordered Mickey to prepare the necessary materials for the work. That same evening, the girl sat down to sew the shawl. She accidentally pricked all her fingers several times each. The girl even had time to think that she was that bad at embroidery. You're good at other things, so I thought this would come easy to you too, Mickey admitted. It doesn't. There are tons of things I'm not good at. For example, I'm bad at cooking and dancing. Mistress said then. Mickey was actually surprised that her mistress couldn't dance. As it turns out, Lucy actually has no sense of rhythm at all. Through incredible effort, she can dance a waltz quite naturally, but the problem is her inability to get into the rhythm. It's such a big problem that she was completely focusing on her partner's movements just to keep up with him. However, this was such an amazing fact for her headmaid that Mickey couldn't even imagine such a thing. Even though I'm old enough now, there's still a lot more to master. If I had time, but we only have a day, thought the protagonist. Lucy also realized that it looked like she would have to stay up all night to finish it. But maybe it was even worth it. The handkerchief actually turned out quite beautiful. The crest came out perfectly similar. Thanks for your help, Mickey. I don't know what I would have done without you. Thanked the lady, and then the maid advised to show this creation to His Highness as soon as possible. Of course we must show it soon. Otherwise, what would be the point? You've embroidered it so diligently, haven't you? It will definitely impress the Duke. The girl spoke up. Lucy listened to the maid and decided to wash and tidy up, and then went to the room to the Lord. Suddenly, Lucy's breath caught. It reminded her of the moment when she had first given him the handkerchief. Now she stood under the Lord's room and knocked on the boy's door. After a few seconds, Owl came out of the room. Lady Tibet, what are you doing here? The man asked in surprise. However, it was then that his mistress came out of the gentleman's room. Why did you leave without him? Asked Cecilia, in whose hands was a handkerchief. A handkerchief? Also with the coat of arms of the Will family over it. It's much neater and more elegant than mine. Noticed a frustrated Lucy. Goodness, Lady Tibet. Good morning. It's good to meet you. I was just about to ask you for a concession. I heard the lady can't embroider, so I did it in her place. What do you think? A girl who was unpleasant to Lucy started the conversation. This is Owl's first appearance in social circles, after all. But if he came without his bride's handkerchief, it would dishonor your clan. So I sewed it instead of you. Why are you looking at me like that? The pregnant girl said with a pitiful look. Cecilia worked very hard for you and me, despite being in a position. But you not only didn't even say thank you, you're also glaring at her. Once again, I'm convinced of your bad temper. The man spoke up. Again, that look of contempt. The Owl looks as if he was sure he had done nothing wrong. However, the lady was not about to endure such humiliation in front of this foolish guest. I'm overstepping the boundaries of allowed influence, aren't you, Duke? The girl stated in a confident tone. No matter how much this woman says she is carrying your child, she is only a mistress. a creature who has no right to come out into the light and is doomed to live forever in the shadows. Why should I be lenient to a mistress who dares to violate my rights as a bride? Lucy was not afraid to say. Afraid to. Violate! She did it from the bottom of her heart. The man stated, and even raised his tone of voice at his future spouse. Raised your voice because of your mistress? What indecent behavior! The other palace staff then remarked, Whether to take this shawl to the banquet or not is up to you, but don't even think of saying it's his shawl, for that is not part of my plans, said Lucy, knowing that the guy couldn't contradict her because he was embarrassed in front of his mistress. After that, Mistress suddenly announced that she was going on a road trip. She even got into a carriage for His Highness, but she didn't pay much attention to it because the manor was full of other carriages as well. He can use another one, so let's set off now. I want to go to the quietest place, Lucy declared, and then the carriage started up. I've hurt all my hands embroidering a handkerchief, and for what? What did I ever hope for? Fool, I'm so pathetic! Lucy continued to blame herself while in the carriage. At this time, Owl, as usual, was paying attention to his mistress. Cecilia apologized to the man, as she thought she had messed up all his affairs, but the guy explained that it was okay, as the affairs weren't particularly important anyway. The girl even said she didn't need a doctor, even though she wasn't feeling well. Your presence alone makes me feel better. It seems like you got really angry with Lady Tibbet. Did I do something wrong? Said Cecilia. Not at all. Lucy has always been like that. The minute someone violates her boundaries, she immediately becomes ferocious. I had hoped that things would improve with time, but no. She's become even more violent than before, said the man. I'm just a mistress, so it's okay if I'm not recognized in society. But what will happen to the child? The pregnant girl inquired. However, the man explained to her that the girl had nothing to worry about. Owl promised that at birth he would be sure to enter him in the family register, and Lucy, as stepmother, would be obliged to bring him up. And if I don't? The girl asked then. What do you mean? Has she said anything to you about it? The man asked worriedly. No, but I'm just a little worried about Lady Tibbet's behavior today. What if she bullies my child? Decided to feign victimization by his mistress. There's no need to worry. After all, otherwise she will not fulfill her duties as a mistress. If that happens, I will deprive her of everything and make her leave the estate. The man promised, and that was just what the mistress needed. Her plan was slowly becoming a reality. I want to see our baby boy soon. I will be a wonderful father to him, the man also promised. At this time, Lady Tibbet was sitting alone under a tree. The girl did not know at all what she should do now. Lucy did not even know if she could live as before, but then her loneliness was colored by the very strange man with blue hair. He handed the lady a handkerchief as she was crying. Apart from that, the guy also inquired about the girl's emotional state. Why are you crying in a place like this, lady? With a drop of concern, the man asked. That man, then. God, I can't have anyone seeing me like this. Thought to herself Lucy, and decided to immediately calm down and make a playful smile as if nothing had happened. I beg your pardon, but you're going to hurt your eyeballs this way, said the guy to the girl who was wiping her tears with her hands. He gently removed her hand so that he himself could wipe the lady's tears with a handkerchief. Even though it's quiet here, the lady shouldn't be alone, said the guy. However, the girl explained that she just wanted some privacy. Lucy went on to tell him that she had nothing that bad going on. However, the strange man guessed that her bitter tears might have had something to do with her sad appearance. If I tell you, can you help me? Lucy asked. And then the guy replied that he would if it was in his power. Lucy was actually grateful to him, even for saying that. Awkward as it was, she and the man were starting to run into each other quite often. Lucy also noticed that the handle of this guy's ball was very worn out. He has pretty good skills, so the girl didn't think the sword was meant for self-defense. Come to think of it, The hilt of Owl's sword was also quite shabby. Lucy thought for a second. However, right after that, the girl felt a sweet taste in her mouth. The guy put a strawberry candy in her mouth to cheer up the girl. When I'm sad, sucking on strawberry candy makes me feel better. I hope it works for you, too. With a sincere smile, the man said. Just then, the stranger shifted his gaze to the very box that contained the handkerchief. It was clear that the strange fellow was about to ask now about what lay in that box. As soon as the girl opened the box, the handkerchief itself fell out of it as the wind blew. The man immediately picked up her embroidered handkerchief. "Please give it back," asked the girl, who felt extremely embarrassed. Isn't this a handkerchief? Judging from the coat of arms, is it meant for your fiancé?" The man remarked aloud, but the girl explained that it wasn't that at all. Lucy told him that it was just unnecessary trash and asked him to give it back to her. But the gentleman was really surprised why the girl wanted to throw away a clean handkerchief. After all, Lucy couldn't say that it was because it was no longer needed, so she should have thought of something. But the girl didn't even know what she could even say to this whole thing to the guy. "Instead of throwing the handkerchief away, you'd better give it to me," the man asked unexpectedly. "Don't talk nonsense. Why would a young gentleman like you want such an ugly thing? Besides, the embroidery turned out strange," said Lucy. "And it isn't ugly at all. Didn't you put all your effort into it? Not at all. It came out quite beautifully." The man complimented the girl's efforts. He was sure of it, for the lad had good eyesight to see the pattern on the handkerchief. Afterwards, the gentleman also sweetly kissed the girl's hand, as a thank you for such a gift. "Don't think I'm one of those idiots deceived by a beautiful shell who can't recognize the true value," the man pronounced. And Lucy didn't think that at all. She was still greatly surprised. "Forget it. I was going to throw it away for lack of use anyway. Better to give the stream to someone who really needs it." The girl thought logically. "I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you something. It has to do with taxes. I'm having some difficulties with it, so I'd love your help," the man asked. "In that case, wouldn't it be better to ask the tax inspector?" the girl asked in response. "Already. Only the problem has never been solved, so I'm puzzling over it," explained the man. Lucy was surprised that this guy was consulting with an ordinary lady about an issue that even a civil servant couldn't solve. After all, she herself didn't know if she could help the guy with anything. He really was strange. "I'm only interested in your opinion, so please don't worry." The man also explained everything, after which Lucy still decided to listen to him. "You have helped me a lot. Thank you, Lady Tibet." After talking, the man decided to express his gratitude. It had been a while since Lucy had had such a really nice conversation, and the boy himself had noticed that the conversation had been great. It was nice that he felt the same way. "Right, I still don't know his name. If you don't mind, can I get your name?" finally decided to ask Lucy. Mr. Mila was surprised that the girl was interested in her name. However, the guy decided to let Lucy try to guess it herself. "Didn't I guess yours? Try to guess mine now," he said. It seemed rather insolent of him. Yet the girl still started guessing his name anyway. Unfortunately, all her attempts were wrong. Lucy still had no way of guessing the gentleman's name. "I list in all the exits of noble houses of my age. If he was one of them, I would surely recognize," thought the girl, who was already just confused by such a game. "At least give me a clue," then demanded Lucy to make it easier on herself. After all, she really didn't know who this man could even be anymore. "The clue lies in my hair," the boy answered her then. He did indeed have shiny blue, beautiful hair that glistened in the sun. What the clue was, however, Lucy still didn't understand. "And you're not very knowledgeable, I see," said the man, as if he had decided to mock the lady a bit. "I'm not mocking you at all. Let's proceed as follows. Find out my name before the banquet." Decided to offer an alternative option to the guy. In response, The girl wondered aloud that this stranger would be there as well. Although it is natural for an aristocrat, whose position is higher than the marquis, because nobles lower in status than the baron, cannot participate in the celebration of the ascension of the emperor to the throne. However, at the first mention of the banquet, the guy noticed the girl's facial expression changed to a sadder one. "You don't like such events?" He decided to clarify. At that moment, the girl thought that since he noticed, there was no reason for her to deny it. "I am." With a sad sigh, Lucy admitted, after which the guy decided to inquire as to why she felt this way about this kind of event. "Because everyone will start whispering if they see me there with Owl." The protagonist of this story thought to herself, though Owl would not take his mistress's handkerchief with him, as she had warned him, he would not wear it either. Lucy knew this perfectly well, because she was not going to put her handkerchief in the hands of the gentleman. It turns out that the man will be without any shawl at all at his first ceremony, which is wrong according to local traditions. A duke showing up on his debut without a shawl embroidered by his bride, this would make a great topic for gossip lovers. Remembering and scrolling all this in her head, the girl involuntarily began to clench and bite her lips. Then the gentle hand of the guy distracted her from this action. "Looks like you have a bad habit," said the man, touching the girl's lips. At the moment, they both felt very awkward, so the guy also pulled away from the lady. I apologize." He apologized for touching the girl without asking. "I was afraid you'd hurt your lips that way, but I ended up scaring you." The well-mannered man continued to apologize. "Not at all. I was frightened because I was busy thinking of other things. Since this is my first outing, I'm afraid I might make a bunch of mistakes." Then explain girl. Because of the protracted war, many nobles will be going out for the first time at this particular banquet, so there's no need to worry. The guy with blue hair tried to comfort her. "You're very kind, and I think you're quite popular in female circles." Decided to jokingly voice her observations to Lucy. "I am, but I'm only like that with people I'm interested in. Otherwise, I won't even look at them," the guy admitted in response. At that moment, Lucy seriously wondered. It's strange. It would be quite burdensome if he said he was interested in me as you are a woman, but after listening to him, I don't feel like just a lady at all. He sees in me a man named Lucy, thought the girl, and she actually felt pleased at the thought. To show her gratitude, the girl also decided to compliment the guy in return. "And you are quite eloquent," the protagonist of this story remarked, although the guy in response only said that the girl was flattering him. Now it was time to go home. On the way to the carriage, the girl still decided to ask if the man would really take her handkerchief. "You don't want to give it back?" In answer to her question, he asked, "It's not that. It has the crest of the Will family on it after all. It's not the sort of thing you can use anywhere," Lucy explained. "Then you have nothing to worry about," declared the boy and laughed loudly. "I'll hide it where only I have the opportunity to face it," decided the man promised. Lucy immediately picked up on the fact that this was a rather specific way of saying he wouldn't show it to anyone. Acts so serious at first, and then changes abruptly. He's weird. The girl thought to herself at that moment. Finally, it was time to part. The mistress was called to go to the carriage. However, before the girl was about to leave, the guy stopped her by lightly touching her arm. "Lady, there's something else I'd like to ask," admitted the men. Lucy thought the question would be tax-related again. However, that was not the case. "No, it has to do with you," started to deny the guy. "Have you considered becoming a civil servant?" Suddenly the man asked a question. It seemed as if he were laughing at her, but the gentleman was perfectly serious. Still, the girl thought it was a strange question. "You don't seem to know that a woman cannot hold a managerial position," Lucy remarked. "As far as I know, there is no such law," then said the guy. However, Lucy expressed that it was simply the way it was done in their society. "Lady, that's not what I wanted to ask. If such a chance presents itself, will you take it?" repeated the man's question a little differently. Absolutely, Lucy declared in a confident tone. What the girl said even made the guy smile. Memorize what you just said, the man with blue hair advised. After meeting with Lucy, the guy went to see his longtime friend. Bear was definitely happy to see the man. Look who's here, rejoiced the employee. Turned all the work over to me and vanished. Isn't that right, Your Majesty Emperor Killian de Justine? With those words, the man's acquaintance greeted him. As soon as the man entered the office, he immediately checked to see if the employee was finished with all the chores. The emperor had so badly overwhelmed his friend with duties that the guy even already wanted to quit. However, no resignations were accepted. There was plenty of work right now. Then at least find more assistants. There's too much paperwork, Bear asked. But the emperor couldn't hire anyone since he had no one else to rely on. These papers were too serious. However, sooner or later, a new assistant would indeed have to be found. At least one person. If you're going to hire one, maybe it's better to choose 2 or 3 more at once. Bear suggested, but of course, even one was enough for him. Otherwise, the emperor might not offer help from other people at all. Bear was very excited and decided to ask the nobles to send them letters of recommendation right away. However, Killian said that there was no need to do so since they would conduct the examination. There is indeed an exam for a civil servant in the Empire, but it is hardly ever practiced. Either distinguished academy graduates or recommended by one letter are usually appointed to the position. But if he dares to take the job, he may do something that no one has done before. The emperor announced that they would hold the exam in a month. The discipline was to include governance, tax law, politics, property, and the like. Applicants would indeed have to pass all these subjects after all. They were required to know it if they wanted to become the emperor's aide. Turn on the phrase, "Women are also allowed," and make sure it's clearly visible. Killian also unexpectedly ordered his employee. Here came the day to celebrate the emperor's ascension to the throne. Lucy tidied herself up by taking a bath. The banquet has already lasted 2 days, but the girl participated only today. And tomorrow is exclusively for men, so you need to try your best today. But Lucy really didn't know if she could pull it off. Since the handkerchief incident, she and Owl have been in a state of Cold War. They used to exchange a few phrases before, but now they don't say a word to each other. Should I be worried that nothing will change in the ballroom either? Lucy wondered. But once the girl put on her beautiful dress, she really did look simply stunning. Because of her black, like the night sky, hair, this silver-colored dress really suited Lucy's face. Certainly no one else could have worn it as well. The maids are always showering the girl with compliments, but this is the first time Lucy has ever really liked the dress. She decided that as soon as she returned to the estate, she would definitely reward the couturier for such a gorgeous job. After that, the maids informed her that his lordship was waiting for the girl in the drawing room. It was time to go out. Well, as soon as the girl came out of her room, someone accidentally poured a drink on her dress. As it turned out, it was Cecilia who was rushing to her room and accidentally bumped into the door. Lucy didn't know whether the lord's mistress did it intentionally or not, but it was necessary to treat it as if what happened was only a ridiculous accident. If the girl got angry, only she would look strange. Therefore, Lucy was forced to absolutely calmly treat this case. With an absolutely calm tone, the girl decided to see if they still had a dress of the same color in the manor. After all, this is the banquet for the emperor's coronation. The most important thing now is to change clothes and show up to the feast. There is. But it's the only silver dress we took to the capital, explained the maid. In addition, makeup was selected directly under the outfit, and there is no time to change jewelry. She and Owl had paired outfits, so she couldn't go in another. Bring any similar dress, not necessarily this color, as well as a jewelry box and shoes, Madame ordered. At this time, at the ceremony itself, Killian was informed that Duke Will had arrived. But what was the man's surprise as soon as he learned that the Duke had arrived alone, without a bride? From the window, the Emperor saw the lad unaccompanied by his companion. But why? Something is wrong. There. Postpone the start of the banquet. At the same moment, Killian demanded,